This Kavanaugh nomination is really stirring up a lot of people. Whether his accuser will be allowed to be heard is up in debate. And there are a lot of people who are taking to the streets and protest. There are protests in the Capitol right now. What's interesting to me is that this is going to be decided by basically a bunch of white men. A bunch of white men who often, more times than not, are the perpetrators rather than the victims. So the victims tend to be women, the perpetrators tend to be men. And men are going to decide whether this woman's case is valid or not. It's ironic to me that men who can't recognize whether someone is racist are now being charged with recognizing whether someone is a rapist. I don't know how well that's going to go. But I'm also reminded of something else. That 53% of white women voted for a man they knew to be guilty of sexual assault. And they voted for him anyway. So it seems funny that a lot of those same women, or some women certainly in that group, are now crying and for justice and asking for victims to be heard. A lot of women, white women, overwhelmingly voted for Roy Moore Jr. in Alabama, who was also accused of being a pedophile. Now, that didn't matter. And now it's interesting to contrast that against the protests that we see. Women asking men for justice. Women asking men for discernment. And those same women didn't exhibit that when they were making some of their electoral choices. It's simple. I don't think women need to discuss with men. I don't think women need to be asking men these things. I think that the first thing women need to do is to talk to other women. Damn the Senate. You need to talk to your grandmothers and your sisters and your aunties and your BFFs. Because a lot of those same women voted for the very men who are making these decisions, voted for the very men who committed some of these atrocities that people are up in arms about. Sometimes the biggest hurdle that you have to conquer is people who think and look and act like you. If you look in the mirror, you are the women that you need to convince. 53% of women voted for a man they knew to be a sexual predator. They knew it. They did it there. They did it in Alabama. You don't need to look up on the hill for justice. Look next to you. That's a little note from the GED section. We got the Jazz Report coming up in 15 minutes. It's the D.L. Hughley Show.